We're here in the lovely city of Hereford, and we're asking the public, if you could ask God one question, what would it be?
I think if I got to see them, I'd ask, why don't you come and show yourself to everyone so we'd all believe?
I suppose the question for most Christians, and most non-Christians actually, would be, why does God allow suffering?
I guess if God is meant to be loving, then why does he send people to hell?
Do all religions lead to God?
What are you?
How do I know the Bible's reliable?
Well, I've heard Christians say that Jesus rose from the dead, but where's the proof in that?
In this episode, we're asking the question, if God can stop evil and suffering, why does he allow it to continue? Mark, evil and suffering. Big question. Not fun, is it? Not fun in the slightest.
You said this would be fun.
I know, I'm so sorry. But yeah, if God can stop evil and suffering in the world, why has he not done that?
Yeah, it's such a hard one, and there's some stuff that is very difficult to get an answer for. And the way that I handle it, I listened to David Attenborough.
Oh yeah.
Who said this on one of his nature programs, which I think are beautiful. He said the greatest risk to our planet is human beings.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did some reading around, and by far and away, it's the existence of human beings that causes the vast majority of suffering.
Gosh, okay.
And that's staggering, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like, let's say God suddenly goes, all right, you're all absolutely right. Let's get rid of all the suffering and evil.
I'll do what you want.
Do what you want. Do what you've been asking for. And so he starts to do that. Where would he start and where would he stop? Because you look at things like fair trade, climate change, COVID. I don't know if it's too soon to talk about.
I don't know.
But there's loads and loads of us. Like for me, with climate change, I don't fully know. But for me, if there's any sniff of a possibility that we as human beings in the West are causing suffering for people in other parts of the world who are not contributing to climate change, that seems a massive injustice. So there was an old gentleman in my life who said, you know, Mark, when you point the finger at somebody, you got three fingers pointing back at yourself. And I think it's just a little bit convenient saying, God, why do you allow the suffering when actually there's so much of what we contribute that I feel we need to sort out. If God was to get rid of it all, I'm not sure what any of us would be with a shout.
And that's the thing, we look at God and think, well, if you're all powerful, you can get rid of evil and suffering. But then, as you say, turn the question on ourselves. Yes, we're not all powerful, but we have the option to stop evil and suffering in our lives and in our world and what we cause. And actually, it is that question of going, well, if God were to do that, you'd have to get rid of the people that cause evil and suffering. Now, we know and we understand that suffering isn't just what people cause, but as you say, David Attenborough talks about the biggest cause of suffering and evil in our world is people, and we know and we understand the Bible talks about this idea of sin, and there's this sin is this kind of power at work, and it's a power that's in rebellion against God and what God wants, and God wants love and justice and faithfulness and selflessness, and often we look at ourselves and say, man, I don't match up to that. But if God were to remove our choice of evil and suffering, then we wouldn't have the choice to really love.
No.
And so the very fact that he allows us to have that choice means that the ball's in our court somewhat to say, actually, God, I'm going to either live my life for you and choose the right thing, choose the right way to live, choose to love people, or I'm going to choose to partake in a sense of the evil and suffering that I see. And I think God should stop this. But you have to ask that question, well, then God should stop you.
No, absolutely. And it's also interesting when you're thinking about suffering. So there's a lot of the suffering that's kind of out there in the world, but there's loads of people that are going personally through suffering. And I've been privileged in my life over the 35 plus years I've been speaking and traveling predominantly around the UK, but abroad as well. I've been really privileged to meet a whole bunch of people who are going through the types of suffering and situations that many of us would look at and say, how can you believe in a God of love when that? And the thing that I've constantly discovered from these people is that they found God to be a source of strength, not a target for accusation. And honestly, mate, I've had friends who've been taking Bibles into Romania and machete-wielding madmen have broken into their motorhome as they've been camping and sought to murder them. And the lady who survived it all, she went back across to Romania to the men in the prison and said, I forgive you. And her husband died, he didn't recover. So they just somehow find this strength in God rather than going, why have you let this happen?
Gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
My encouragement to you as you're watching this and listening is, we believe that God has got a solution to evil and suffering, and we believe it's Jesus. He died on the cross for us so that we can have a relationship with him and partner with him to be people who don't bring evil and suffering, but to be people who bring love and goodness and generosity and kindness. So why not think about that? Why not discuss that with the people around you? Why not chat about the things that we've been talking about here this morning? If you did want more information on this, then go to our Discover More section. It's got resources of articles and books and videos and authors. So go and check that out for a more detailed view of what we're looking at.